13 and I'm a first-year master student in cell molecular biology at the San Francisco State University, and I'm part of the code lab of Clooney Pennings. I'm going to present you the fourth video that is optional, and this is a video that is on using coding to make a new model for 2021. I'm very excited to show you some machine learning in this video. I think many of you use machine learning on a day-to-day basis. For example, when you're unlocking your phone with Face ID. I would have never imagined that I would make a video on machine learning, because when I first started out, I thought that machine learning was going to be super difficult and not something I would easily do. Now that I know more about machine learning, I know that it's not as hard as I thought it would be. Of course, the math behind machine learning is very complicated, but you don't need to know the math in order to do the machine learning part. You also don't need to be a star coder to create a machine learning model. So with this workshop, we will show you that any of us can create a machine learning model. Speaking of models, in this video, we are going to create a new model that uses 2021 summer data to predict the amount of COVID cases in 2021. To see whether this is more accurate than the previous predictions we made using the 2020 model. Remember that when we are using the 2020 model to predict 2021, it was not quite accurate. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a new decision tree to predict the COVID cases per county in 2021 by using data from summer 2021. We are going to continue working on the same notebook that we used for all the workshop 1. Okay, let's dive into the notebook. First of all, we are not going to write any new code. We are just going to reuse our old code. You will see that a lot of coding just involves copying and pasting old code. So here we are copying and pasting the codes that we have used previously. But the only thing that is different is every time you see 2020, you want to change that into 2021. So for this, we are first going to copy the code from step 2a. In order to do so, I'm just going to go to step 2a. All right, here we go. I'm just going to press Ctrl+C to copy it. And then I'm going to paste the codes. And in this case, it still says 2021. I want to change that into 2021. Okay, now I'm just going to delete this because it's double now. So every time I copy and paste the code, I can run it by clicking on this arrow. And then you can see that there's a green checkbox that it actually runs. In this case, we don't have any output because we're just loading our 2021 training data. And we are doing this by creating a new variable that is called S2021 training. And then we use pandas to read the CSV file. Okay, now that we have loaded the data, we're going to separate the training data into labels and features. In this case, we're going to skip steps 3b and 3c, since this step was only done to allow you to see what the labels look like once we separated it from their main training data. All right. Remember that in machine learning, we have training data and we have test data. And the test data is the data that we use to test our model, and the training data is the data that we use to train our model. About 70% of the data is training data. So in order to separate the test data from the training data, we need to separate the features from the label, which you can see in step 3a, because we for the test data, we don't want to sort of like have the data in there that we're trying to predict. Just a reminder, features are descriptive attributes that we use to make our predictions. In the data, the features are the columns. The labels are what you're trying to predict. So here we create our new decision tree by using this chunk of code. And next we will train our new decision tree by using this chunk of code. Now we want to visualize our 2021 decision tree. So we're gonna copy and paste the code from step 5. And then by making a tree. And here we made our tree. And let's dive a little bit more into this tree. So our tree starts here. And this is sort of a condition. And the tree asks whether this condition is being met. So in this case, it asks like, okay, is the fully vaccinated percent lower than 60%? And if this is true, we're going to go to this branch. And if this is false, we're going to go to the next branch. And so on. Okay, now that we have visualized our tree, we want to load the testing data and actually get into making predictions for it. In order to do so, we're going to repeat steps 6a, 6b, and 6c. So we're going to load our data again. And here you can see, here we have all the data that we're using. Here's the county, we have the population, which part is fully vaccinated. We even have the unemployment rate, the democratic votes percent, which is important in our model. So we have all this information here in the data. Okay, now the next part is that we are going to drop the county out of the testing data and make your predictions. So because in the testing data, we don't want any information that is giving away because we're predicting. So that's why we're dropping the county. Okay, now we're going to look at the labels that our model has predicted. So here you can see when you copy and paste the code, you can see the county and the predicted number of COVID cases. But this doesn't tell us anything about the accuracy. It just tells us what the model predicted. Step 7a and 7b. Just a little reminder, don't forget to change 2020 into 2021 every time you see it. So again, we're going to load our actual 2021 labels and drop the county since it's not part of the labels per se. Okay, now we get to the actual step where we can see the accuracy. In this code, we're going to make a bar graph and inspect the accuracy. And you can see we are using this chunk of code. And for example, here we set the color to hot pink and to teal. And we can even change the figure size of this. Okay, here you can see all the counties, and the predicted cases are the yellow bars. And then the actual cases are the green bars. And you can see that, for example, if we look into Sonoma, this is super accurate. But if we look into Lawson, this is not so accurate. So that sort of like tells us our model is not perfect. And in machine learning, you will never get a 100% perfect model. That's not the case. But as you can see, it is fairly accurate. But the big question of this video is it more accurate than the 2020 model? So in order to know this, we're going to compare this model to our 2020 model. And here on the left side, you see the 2020 model with the 2021 data. And you can see like it's fairly off. Here you can see like huge differences here and here and here. So most of the predictions are off, with some like outliers where the prediction is okay-ish. And then on the right side, we see our 2020 model with the 2021 data we used. And then you can see here, like the bars align much more. So this is a much better model, a more accurate model. So this was our video on using the 2021 data to predict the 2021 COVID cases. So what we did overall is we improved our model. We just copy and paste the old code. And there we go. We have a much better model. I hope now, after watching these videos, you have a better insight in machine learning. Happy coding!